Resuming debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as we near the end of this debate this evening, I'd like to first begin by recognizing the tragic events that took place at the Quebec City Islamic Cultural Centre and state unequivocally that the people of Fredericton, who I have the pleasure to represent here, stand in solidarity with the members of the Quebec City Muslim community and, in fact, all Muslims across this country. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the Honourable Member for Vancouver East for introducing a motion to debate this issue this evening, the U.S. executive order issued by the White House on January 27th that restricts travel and immigration to the United States from 7 named countries. With the integrated nature of Canada's economy with the world, and in particular with the United States, it's important that Canadians have accurate and up-to-date information on any new measures that affect business and their travel. La prospérité du Canada.
Canada's prosperity and the prosperity of the United States are intertwined. The relationship that our country has in terms of trade and investment represents $1.4 trillion, over $400,000, and billions of dollars in merchandise and services cross our borders, our shared border every day. Our relationship allows us to maintain millions of jobs in both countries. In this light, we have decided to take action immediately after the executive order to reduce the incidents and to provide all relevant information to Canadians as quickly as possible. Regardless of the change in government, the efforts that we deployed allowed us to have Canadians access all levels of government in the United States to determine the next steps and the repercussions, in addition to sharing our concerns about Canadian residents and Canadian citizens and permanent residents. Mr. Speaker, we were able to receive these assurances.
This executive order will not substantially affect them. The documentary requirements for crossing the border have not changed for Canadian citizens, and no new visas or other authorizations are required. We do not anticipate that Canadian citizens, including those with dual citizenships with one of the 7 named countries, will experience any difference in their border crossing experience when traveling on their valid Canadian passport. As the Minister of Immigration clearly stated, we continue to be actively engaged at every level so that we can provide Canadians with greater certainty and clarity. Mr. Speaker, that's our first priority. Pour ce faire, nous utilisons.
To achieve this, we are using all possible means to communicate with Canadians. In recent days, we updated our website, travel.gc.ca, to take into account new information concerning the executive order. In addition, the Embassy of Canada in Washington and our department is transmitting and updating information on social networks on a regular basis. We are sending the provinces and territories the information that we received on the executive order, and we are communicating with stakeholders in the business communities of both countries concerning the executive order, the effects that it could have on them. Canadians turn to us, Mr. Speaker, for the information of MPs and my constituents. I would like to state that since the executive order on Friday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs has received over 100 calls and emails on the subject, and over 50 requests for information were submitted to embassies. It is important to note that as of this morning, we do not have to open any consular cases to assist Canadians affected by this executive order. This opportunity to address Parliament allows me to communicate what we know and to reassure Canadians that we are doing everything in our ability to ensure that they have smooth passage at the border and to ensure that Canadians and Canadian businesses continue to have reliable access to the United States.
Counterparts to protect Canadian interests going forward. This engagement is happening at all levels and with numerous departments and agencies. Senior Government of Canada officials have been working around the clock to quickly seek clarity for Canadians from the White House, the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and the U.S. Departments of Transportation, among others. In addition, at the request of the Prime Minister, our National Security Advisor reached out to his counterpart in the U.S., Michael Flynn, to seek further clarification. I want to assure the House that officials through our embassy in Washington, D.C. are also continuing to engage their counterparts to get further clarity on the actions taken in the United States in the last few days, including on further direction provided to U.S. customs officials responsible for decisions at the border. While efforts in recent days have focused on clarifying the scope and effect of the executive order, cooperation between Canada and the United States to ensure a secure and efficient border has been a long-standing and mutually beneficial partnership. We will continue to secure clarity and will work tirelessly to make sure that travel for Canadians and permanent residents can continue, that families can be with one another, and that businesses can continue to prosper, providing ongoing benefits to both Canada and the United States. And we will fiercely defend our national interests, Mr. Speaker. Of course, it is in our interest to cooperate with our most important neighbor, the United States, and to also continue to engage constructively with the world. But we hold this maxim to be true and will always reaffirm that Canada is stronger because of our diversity. Canada is a country of immigrants, and Canadians are proud of a long history of acting with compassion and humanitarianism to those seeking refuge for themselves and their families. We have always welcomed people in need of protection, and will continue to do so. We remain committed to being an open and welcoming country and to embracing diversity. We will celebrate that, and we will continue to showcase it to the world. Mr. Speaker, I've seen this reflected in the Fredericton riding, the riding of which I have the honour to represent, where we settled, Mr. Speaker, according to the local resettlement agency, more Syrian refugees per capita than elsewhere in the country. There are many stories that make me proud of this pan-Canadian effort and proud of Canadians, New Brunswickers, and my friends and neighbours in Fredericton. In particular, I think of the Syrian boy who last December, the first family to arrive at the Fredericton airport, clad in a heavy coat and a red toque, who told us at the airport through an interpreter that he sought to grow up to be what he explained as a bone doctor. Mr. Speaker, due to our compassion and care and the generosity of Canadians, I know that one day when I slip on the ice on Queen Street outside my office and/or my children or grandchildren do that, they can look up to this young Syrian boy who will no doubt be a leading medical professional in our community. Mr. Speaker, as the Right Honourable Prime Minister has said, Canada is stronger, not weaker, because of our differences. As a multicultural, multi-faith, and inclusive society, Canada is well positioned to champion peaceful pluralism, respect for diversity, and human rights internationally, and we will continue to do so with pride. Merci beaucoup.